Hello and welcome to the Ahn-est Corgi Podcast. My name is James, and honestly, I'm just a corgi navigating through this journey of life. If you're looking for a podcast where you can listen to honest opinions, tips for life, or even just my embarrassing stories, you've come to the right place. So remember to hit that like button, subscribe, review on Apple Podcast or Spotify. And now sit back, relax, and enjoy your scheduled programming. Peace. In 3, 2, 1. Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Ahn-est Corgi Podcast. I am your host, James Ahn, and here I am back at it again with another episode, here to bless y'all's week, day, month, year, or whatever it is, however long it is you're listening this. What? See, the hardest part about these podcasts are these intros, because I never ever know what to say. I feel like I never have the right words to say, and I don't really rehearse the opening, because the opening is kind of just a lot of my spontaneous side and improv side just wanting to come out. I really feel like if I took an improv class, I would do okay, but after starting this podcast, I feel like I'm not that good at it. I feel like I'm not that good at the intro stuff, but you get my point. Welcome back to another episode. I'm so glad to have you guys here today. And I got an exciting new topic for y'all, for sure. Let me ask y'all though, how's y'all's week? How's it been? How's your 2021? Actually, we're a third of the way there now. We're in April. We are a third of our way into 2021. I can't believe the world is spinning by so fast for no reason. We had the slowest year in 2020 ever. 2020 was just like what? March 2020 was actually like what? And now it's like zooming. Everything is zooming past us. We're blinking and things are happening so quickly with our lives, with our friends' lives, with our families, and everything is just zooming too quickly, and we're not able to handle what's going on. But how's it been? How's the third wave of 2021 going for you guys? For me, it's been kind of hectic. It's been pretty crazy, pretty fast moving. Obviously, as you guys maybe might have or might not have known, I have moved out officially and have decided to live on my own. Mostly, it's really because of a job that I got in another state, and I decided to move out, considering all my choices and whatnot. And so that's been a part of my life where I had to move out from my parents. I graduated back in 2019, and so it's only been about like 2 years since then, and I would say I'm moving pretty fast in terms of like other people stages of life wise, in terms of moving out from their parents' house early on. But that's been the course of my life, and that's going to transition actually to our topic of today, and that is moving out from your parents after college or around your 20s, because you might not be going to college or whatever. But pretty much that general topic, moving out kind of thing, and what that kind of entails and what follows with it, benefits, not benefits, pros, cons, stuff like that. We're going to talk about that today because I feel like I have a lot to share about that. And excuse me if I seem to be wiping off a lot of sweat on my face. It is a little hot today. I know why I've got a British accent, but a little hot today and I wore a little sweater. I'm too lazy to change, but you're going to have to deal with it. Anyways, yeah, let's talk about today's topic. So, a little bit about my background, guys, is I accepted a job to work in Charlotte, North Carolina. And so I've moved down here ever since February. So it has been 2 months, a little over 2 months since I moved down here. And I remember after college, I got like a part-time job offer for this place that I thought would sustain me for a little while before I found a full-time job back in my hometown. And pretty much in my hometown while working there, I lived with my parents for about for up until I graduated in 2019 of May till now, or till February 2021. So a little under 2 years, I lived in my hometown and pretty much lived with my parents, my family, for that amount of time. And it was, at the time that I worked, it definitely wasn't, how do I say this? I wouldn't say I took it for granted because I was very appreciative of everything that I got to do with my parents in that time, like things such as like eating together and spending time and going home and seeing them, leaving the home after seeing them and whatnot. And like, even though before the pandemic, I would, go out and meet my friends a lot, I'll go out to see my girlfriend. Like, I definitely appreciated living with them. And of course, as everyone kind of goes through at some point of their lives, we get kind of tired of living with our parents. And that's just me being brutally honest. You guys don't have to hide it. It's not easy living with your parents when you are post-college. And for those that didn't go to college, I want to say maybe post like 21, 22, 23. It's really tiring to live with your parents. And I'm not saying that it's a bad thing. And I'm not saying that living with your parents is a terrible thing and that everyone should move out. No. But what I'm saying is mentally, it's hard to transition into the pressures of society telling you have to be an adult and we have to prepare you for these adult things that are coming up, and still living with your parents who treat you still like their kid, which is it's their parental love, their unconditional love they want to show you, and you'll forever be their little Jimmy, or you'll forever be their little Samantha, and that's, I love that. Parents will always, always, always love you for the kid that you were born as from them, right? Like, you're their kid, for Christ's sake. They love you. They love you so much. But it's so hard to balance the pressures of life and the kind of pressure that society brings out onto our age group in terms of like the early mid-20s, even late 20s. And it's hard because you have the pressures of, you have to be an adult, you have to be at this stage of life, and you have to be able to manage these things. When in reality, you don't have to be. Everything is at your own pace and your own lifestyle. Yet it's hard when friends around you, peers around you, fellow alumni, graduates that you have are all at this better stage of life that you quote unquote need to be at, but you really don't. So it's tough, and that's what I kind of mean by it's tiring to live with your parents, because you want a sense of independency, and you really don't feel like you can get the gas pedal going off your start of adulthood if you're still living with them. And so this is the common kind of common factor that I got from talking to a lot of my age group people, around like 23, 20, 24, 22-year-olds. That's kind of the common factor that we talked about. And that makes a lot of sense. It's the wanting to be an adult, but also, you wrestle with the fact that, one, your parents are still paying for their house, the rent, so you don't have to pay for rent, so that's like a plus. But it's also the fact that this is the last time you'll ever be living with your parents. Because once you actually decide to move out, you really will find a hard time to go back. They'll always be there for you when you move out, but you'll find it hard to move back in with them when you've kind of taken the first steps of life, moving out, being an adult, doing stuff like paying taxes, paying bills, and all that stuff, right? So that's definitely hard. But so there's this kind of like scale, in a way, scale of like living with your parents versus moving out. And living with your parents definitely has these pros, which is, like I said, you can help with them with rent, which I think you always should do. I recommend you do that. Take some load off your parents, help them pay for the housing or like bills and stuff like that. because that's what I did for my parents. I try to make sure I helped in terms of payment and more chores and bills and stuff like that, as much as I could while I lived with them. But it's like, that's technically free. You don't have to worry about rent. If your parents are still responsible for your cooking and your meals, you can get free meals for sure. And it's like a safe place, you being with your parents, and you get to live with them. You get to still live their lives with them, because as you get older, they're going to get older too. So who knows how much time you really have left with them. And so there's definitely those benefits for sure. But the cons of that are draining of your mental health, seeing them every day and not being treated as an adult per se. And there's no sense of independency and a sense of growth that you can get. I know that there are parents, but it's hard for us individually to grow into the characters that we are and mold and shape ourselves into someone that we want to be, when we're constantly living with our parents or other people. There's no sense of this wanting to find ourselves deeper on a deeper level and explore who we are when we do live with our parents. And like I said, mentally draining, no sense of freedom, and these little things that can come up with living with their parents. And then moving out. So then the pros of moving out would be that you get to have that sense of independency. You're responsible for your own things, but that in a sense gives you this responsibility, this need to kind of grow up in a way. And moving out definitely increases your growth. And what I mean by that is it increases your growth in a way where you're kind of challenged to be in a place, in an area where you're not familiar with, you're not used to. You're seeing things and experiencing things for the first time, and that really kind of brings out the side of you of what you really are, or who you want to be, or who you're molded into being. Like, who knows what that experience will do for you. But what I do know is that being in a new environment and moving on and starting this new chapter in your life definitely can stimulate growth. It challenges you. It places you to be uncomfortable with what you were doing and how you saw everything, and it kind of brings out a new you, or even the you that was truly you just haven't unfolded yet, and it's fun. It's fun in a way. Moving out, it can be fun, right? So there's a sense of independency and freedom, of course. There's no one telling you what you can or can't do. You're responsible for your own things, your own actions. There's that. And then the cons of moving out is you gotta pay rent. You're in charge of your own rent. You're in charge of your own bills, your own finances. You gotta make sure everything is in your budget in terms of living costs, bills, utilities, food, transportation, even the entertainment stuff that I feel like is a need in a budget. You got to figure out all that financially, because if you don't have a plan for that, then you're really just going to be kind of in a pickle a lot of the times with money, and you don't want to be in that situation. Money's not everything to me, and money shouldn't be everything for people, and that's just my opinion. But when you're in a financial situation that's uncomfortable, it really doesn't bring the best side of you, and so you want to be in a good, comfortable state financially. And so that's definitely one of the biggest cons of moving out, as well as finding ways to meet new people and leave all the people, friends, families, girlfriends, boyfriends that you've had and that you were so comfortable with. Challenging your friendships with your friends and challenging your relationship with your significant other, of how to grow and still love on each other while at a distance, and leaving the uncomfortable side that you had leaving the comfortable side that you had previously before moving out, into going something such as like a new place for moving out, right? So there, you can definitely see the pros and cons of either or. And whatever you end up deciding to do really is something that one should be thought about a lot. And if that's something you have been thinking about a lot, really kind of dive deep into what it will look like realistically. because immediately the first thought that we can really rush into is, I can't wait to move out. Like, it's so tiring to live with my parents, or like, I can't wait to move out and start this journey of life on my own and be an adult right away and all these things. And that's not a bad mindset to have. I don't think that's a bad mindset. You wanting to do that is great, because at least it shows desire. It shows that you're ready to start, motivation, commitment, right? That's good. But you also got to think about the other factors. Financially, can you do it? Is it possible? Is it within your budget? Can you provide for yourself? Can you make sure that not only are you getting fed, but you'll have enough, you moving out is also an investment where you're saving enough money even after, right? If that's taken care of, how are you in your stage of life? Have you figured out what you want to do? If not, what are the necessary steps for you to take that? Is moving out and going to a new location the start of you figuring out what you want to do? Does being in a new and uncomfortable environment stimulate thought, stimulate you to grow and take on new challenges and new adventures? Who knows? And 3, like, your family and your closest friends and your significant other especially, like, are they all okay with that? Right? If your family is in a situation where it's really tough for you to move out, is it okay for you to move out? If you're in a relationship with someone, is your relationship status in a period where it's still uneasy and you're still losing trust with one another and you still need to grow, or it's still early? Have you talked about it with your significant other to be okay with it and commit to it and trust each other through that time? And your friendships, are these friendships that you have really validated? Are they the true friends that you want to go and be friends with? Because at a distance and not hanging out can really challenge the friendships that you have. Because really, we bank on seeing each other and doing things like activities to make our friendship grow. But can you still allow your friendships and your relationships to grow even at a distance? Are you still willing to make that commitment at a distance? Those are things I feel like are really important to evaluate. And what I definitely felt like I've had to evaluate when I first moved out. Breaking out a sweat here. I'm sorry. But yeah, so a little bit about my background. So when I first moved, I really had a lot of trouble moving out. In terms of deciding to go and actually going. It's actually been on my mind since the year after I graduated, where I was ready to kind of take the next steps towards my future. And that really felt constricted living at home with my parents. I love my parents. I love my mom and dad, my family, my older brother. I love them all to death. I'm not the greatest son. I'm not the greatest younger brother. But I do what I can. I am who I am. And, I just be honest and try to show integrity in all that I do for them. And I love them. But it is so hard. It was so hard for me to feel like a different person when I wasn't with them. You know what I mean? Like, when I'm with them, it's hard for me to kind of be a different person than what they were used to seeing me as for 20 something years, right? I'm always their kid to them. It's my older brother. I'm always his younger brother. But it's hard for me to be who I am outside of those things when I'm at home. And that makes sense because that's who I grew up with. I grew up with my family. But when I'm at home, I feel like I'm not James. I'm just a son, or I'm just a younger brother. And that really blocked a lot of my thought process in terms of my interests, my wantings, my future careers and stuff like that, what I wanted to do, what I wanted to try. It was really hard for me to do that when I was at home. But I knew financially I wasn't in any situation to do that. I didn't have enough money. I didn't have enough commitment. And I was still iffy about who I was, kind of. I was still on the journey of kind of finding out who I really am. And then I was in a relationship, or I mean, I am in a relationship, but at the time when I started, it was still early on in my relationship. And I talked about it with my girlfriend, saying it's, there will be a time in the future where one of us has to like move out, or we'll be okay with it. And we talked about it, and we felt like we both agreed that that at the time that we talked about it was still too early in a relationship, where we felt like we wanted to still, get to know each other, grow, and build trust. And so, like almost more than a half a year passed since that time, and I felt like we grew a good amount of trust in that, and that a lot of commitment in our relationship really showed during that time period. And then the news came up of me getting this job offer. And the thing about this job offer was that I got rejected by, I want to say, at least 100 other jobs before this job. And when I tell you I applied like crazy, like I applied like crazy. It was mad applying season. I was applying everywhere and everywhere that I could. And I really just wanted to get something in my hometown, at least near me, that aligned with my interests. And I really couldn't find anything. I was getting rejected. I did so many interviews that resulted in nothing. And it was very frustrating. I really questioned myself and who I really was, and if that's really what I wanted to do. And I really thought maybe living at home, or maybe living in the culture that I lived in terms of my hometown, was really preventing me to be who I am. And I questioned this a lot. It was really hard for me to go through that time. Thankfully, I have a loving girlfriend that supported me all the way through. Friends that support me. If it wasn't for my girlfriend, if it wasn't for my close friends, then it would be really hard for me to keep my sanity at that time. But so I got this job offer in North Carolina, and I was like, dang, like North Carolina, that's not too far. It's only like a state below me. It's like not too far, but I'll apply for it. I probably won't get it, but it's a full-time job, and I thought it would be like pretty good if I got it, right? So I applied, and then I ended up getting it, and then I was like, oh, like I did the interview and everything, and I got the job, and then I was like, oh, okay. And so I like did the interview and everything, and then like when I got the job offer, I was like, oh, this is all happening so fast, and it was so sudden. Why was this the only positive one? It was probably the job description that I had the least amount of experience in. Something I really didn't think of myself kind of doing, but I got it. And so I really sat on it and thought about it for a couple weeks after that. Because I really didn't know what to do. First person I told was I called my girlfriend and said, hey, I got that job offer in North Carolina. And then, I told my parents after that, and then it made me think, like, should I take this job? I really don't know. Like, immediately I thought, oh boy, here we go. I got to do long distance. I'm not looking forward to that, because I love spending time with my girlfriend, and I want us to grow together, like in person, being able to see each other as much as we have been that time. And then I was like, oh boy, here we go. I have to leave my parents if I move out, right? Because I can't work in North Carolina and live here. So I was like, if I take this job, then I have to drop all these things, and I have to live alone, and I have to drop a lot of my friends. Not drop a lot of my friends, but pretty much leave my friends, my family, my girlfriend, and everything that I felt comfortable with. I pretty much had to drop all of that if I took this job. And so I thought about it. I meditated. I prayed so much about this opportunity. And I really asked God, I was like, God, is this really where you want me to go? Was I called to Charlotte, North Carolina all this time? Like, I never would have thought that. And then there wasn't like a magical sign or like a miracle or like a beam coming out of the sky and spilling out the words Charlotte NC. Like it was nothing like that. But it literally came into my head as I was just walking one day, and it was just I feel like I feel like God's calling me to Charlotte. And I don't know why. I still don't know why to this day why God called me to Charlotte. But if that's what he wanted, then I have to obey him. And it felt so conflicting at first, because it was like, I was like, to be honest, I was like, really? I was like, God, are you sure? Like God, I know you're almighty, all-knowing, all-powerful. Yes, you know everything before I do. You know the past, the present, and the future. But I was like, really, God? Are you sure about this one? Like, I'm not tripping, right? You're not tripping? I'm pretty sure you're not tripping. You're the God of all gods. But, like, you know what I mean? Like, am I tripping? And so, like, I really conflicted with that the first time that understanding that revelation came into my head. And I was like, dang, I'm really moving to Charlotte. I'm really moving out. And my first reaction was, I'm so sad. The reason why I want to say that I was so sad, though, was because I feel like I had to drop everything that I was doing to go to Charlotte. And it's not like I was dropping to do anything like terrible. Like, I was going to have a full-time job there. I was going to start progressing in my career and start investing in my future and my future family. But I was so comfortable and I was so happy with what I had in my hometown. Dropping everything just to do this and live on my own was so scary. It's so like I didn't want to do that. But if that's what God was calling me to do, then I really have to go in faith. And that's what the life of a Christian is all about, just going in faith. And so I broke the news down to my girlfriend, my family, my friends, and they all supported me, They all supported me. They all were encouraged by what I was doing and how I was stepping out of my comfort zone to kind of go and do this. It definitely wasn't easy for my girlfriend. We definitely had a lot of hard times going through this in terms of breaking down the news and officially making it happen and all these things, but we've been going strong. I'm so thankful for her because she has been doing the best that she has in our relationship and for our relationship. I see the effort that she puts in every single day of trying to text me and me trying to text her. And so I'm so appreciative of her. And if you're listening to this, which I know you will because you love my podcast, it's going to all work out in the end. I promise. It will be worth it. Love you. But anyways, yeah, so I broke down the news and they're also encouraged and they're also happy and supportive of me going. And as I got here, as I moved down, I cried almost every other day for the first 2 weeks I was here. Because I was so lonely. I was so afraid. I was so confused. I had no answers of why God wanted me to be here. I was alone for that whole time and I had no one to cope with. No one to talk to. Physically, I felt so alone because I was alone. And it was just one of the scariest moments that I've felt in recent history because it's not what I expected. You expect the first things that you do moving out is, oh my gosh, freedom, and I could do everything I want, party, yay, freedom. But it really wasn't like that. It was just scary, it was lonely, it was fearful, and I was so confused at the time. And not gonna lie, I still feel partially those feelings. I still feel confused. I still feel lonely here. But what's gotten better is I've opened up in terms of bringing myself out. I am learning more about who I am. I'm learning more about my wants and interests, my desires. I started to make goals for myself and I started to achieve those goals. I started to take care of myself physically in terms of what I'm eating and how I'm treating my body, and like my wants and desires are coming out and I want to do those wants and desires. Even if it doesn't pan out, I still want to do them. And with my job, I'm meeting amazing people at work. They're so nice and they're so loving. The job that I'm doing is not necessarily entirely what I want to do in my future, but at least doing it is giving me the experience to be a great worker, to build character, to build diligency and hard work. But ultimately, I kind of figured out what I want to do in terms of work. I really want to work in sports, and that's what I realized moving here. I really want to work in sports again. I really want to work for a team specifically, and just kind of moving here really sparked a lot of ideas, motivation. It's pushed me to be a better person, to work on myself mentally, physically, emotionally, and spiritually. I read more books in my time here than I have like in the past like 2-3 years. I've been reading my Bible more often, meeting people at church, going to church and meeting the young adults there. Just building on myself internally, and I feel myself feeling so much growth the past 2 months than I have like almost all of 2020. Because being in a place that's so unfamiliar, uncomfortable, and different really makes you stop and see who you are. And I did a podcast on this when I said traveling alone is better than traveling with other people at first, because when you really enter a place that you're so unfamiliar with and that you're experiencing everything new for the first time, your body naturally tends to look for something that it's familiar with. Your mind, it looks for something that it's familiar with and that it knows. And so when you go to a new place, the only thing that it really knows is yourself. And so when you see yourself, you start to see, whoa, this is the kind of person I am, or this was the kind of person I was. If you don't like it, how can I change it? If you do like it, how can I make it better? Right? Like, moving out, I experienced like, man, I still have so many things I want to work on. I still have so many things I want to do, and how I can better myself as a person to not only myself, but to the people around me and the people that I love. So definitely moving out has been definitely good, and I have experienced many bads, but it has been good and has been healthy, and I have shared a lot of emotions of happiness, sadness, and bitterness, anger. I felt all of it, and it's only been 2 months. It's only been 2 months. But that is just my take. So if you guys definitely have any thoughts or ideas about this, share with me. I want to know so bad. I want to know what you guys have been thinking about this topic, if it's a topic that's been on your mind lately or recently. But that was my experience about moving out, kind of starting my own life here, down here in Charlotte, North Carolina. But thanks again for listening to this episode of the Ahn-est Corgi Podcast. As always, you can follow me on Apple Podcasts and Spotify and Google Podcasts. I'm always there. You can follow me on Twitter. It's the only social media account that I use. I don't know why I'm counting fingers. They have nothing to do with the things I'm saying. But thanks again for listening to this episode of the Ahn-est Corgi Podcast. As always, you can follow... Wait, I just said that. Listen to the other episodes. I'm not crazy. I'm a pretty normal guy. I love life. I love talking about life. So you can listen to all my other episodes. But that was today's topic. I hope you guys enjoyed it. And thanks, guys. Have a good one. Peace out. Peace on the streets.